When we got married, I was making like $4 an hour.
Welcome to the Jeff Heilman Project. We are so excited that you have tuned in and have turned us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all the many places. We're so excited to be back, and this time in the booth with part two
we got microphones and cameras and lighting and
with
sound
Teddy,
booths.
Theodore, and our continuing of the kind of the Jeff Heilman story, if you will.
Telling some stories.
But before we get started with that, how has your week been?
This has been a good week. Seems to be the ongoing saga really since 2008. I have been working to figure out systems and techniques to try to be able to deal with the increasing volume of stress and debt and bills to pay and job responsibilities and managing larger amounts of money and investments and businesses and tasks. And I feel like I've got my system where I want it, and I'm continually executing against things that are the highest priority. So I got not an invoice. I got a proposal out to a client today. Got all the major stuff that had to get done. Fixed something with two major customers at work on the same day, and got travel booked for one and problems resolved with another. And that's, it's kind of the world I'm living in right now as we dig our way out of financial situations from failed companies and move back into that multimillionaire status. A lot of my time is spent on work. And so when I think of work and the victories for how things are going economically for the Heilman household, it is top of mind for me, but it's all about like what the priority is. And the priority is not on Jeff getting quality time with his family, which I definitely need. It's about Jeff doing what Jeff has to do to take care of the family that I've committed to care for. So carving our way out, I'm feeling great, making lots of progress in the area of constantly working on those top priorities. And then getting some one-on-one time with Teddy, and then I did a date day with Osh. I did a date day with Jeff. I did
Jeffrey
a date day
came
with
here.
Jeffrey was here last week, which is awesome. He's in Hawaii now, so I had a chance to talk to him for an hour today. And just kind of that toggling back and forth as you get narrower in your focus of what you want to do and who you want to be and what you want to accomplish in your life, you start running out of runway, and it actually helps really put that focus together. So I would say that this is one of those weeks where the big chunks of the iceberg of procrastination and lack of focus started to fall off into the ocean, and things just started to get a lot tighter, I guess, as in the way that we hold our attention.
I think that is par for the course. We've always said that it takes about 6 months to ramp up a new job, or anytime.
That's about right.
Anytime that you've been.
I've tried to ramp faster than 6 to 8 months, but it just seems like my brain just takes 6 to 8 months to ramp into a job, and I don't know why that is.
There's some weird statistic, maybe Andrew can throw it up or something, I don't know, about like if you move your trash can, it takes like 3 weeks,
65 days or something like that.
Used to where your new before you stop going to where the old trash can was. So when
I'm still going to where my old trash can was, actually.
When you've got something as complicated with as many facets as starting a new position and a new job with new people, like it's going to take a while to get ramped up to where you feel like you can be on all cylinders. I mean, geez, just checking email and learning new. And it seems like each job, at least that you've had, when you work for a major company, they all have their own internal processes, like internal email, internal. It's never like, well, you just carry your old email from your last job into your new job, and now you got all that.
There's new systems. And then also with the smaller companies, which I've been at big companies for a long time, at smaller companies, they tend to be earlier adopters of the new stuff. So right now we're using Okta. I've never used Okta before. Okta's a hub kind of consolidator for all apps cloud that gives you single sign-on for multiple vendors. And there's some good things with that, and there's some trouble with it. But kind of having a one-stop shop intranet like we used to have back in the Cisco days is interesting to be able to say all my training, all of my email campaigns, all of my Salesforce.com, everything is in one centralized location. So learning about that kind of stuff is interesting.
Makes me think of that game that we had, Octodad.
Oh, that game.
Remember that game? I think you tried to play it one time.
It's really
it was like
hard.
the dad, and he had like 8 arms, right, or something.
Ah, bananas! My worst enemy.
There's the lawnmower. I need the lawnmower. Oh, I fucking love this game.
Octodad?
Octodad.
I don't know that
You had
one.
to do a whole bunch of tasks at the same time. It was really funny.
But suffice to say, like, are there other areas of life besides work? Yes. Family is critically important to us. We went to church this week. I went to a funeral on Friday. I went on the funeral. You had other plans that you were tied up with, but I went to represent the family at a funeral, and I feel like Yogi Berra says, if you don't go to your friends' funerals, they're not going to go to yours. So we got
they
to.
They won't be around to come to yours.
Exactly, that's the point.
They won't be around to come to yours.
They won't be around, which is kind of the point of Yogi Berra's silliness. But I do think it's important to go to funerals. I think it's a reminder for all of us at, number one, how many people, the people we, maybe don't know that well or maybe don't even like, actually impact a lot of other people. And in this particular case, I wasn't super close with the guy that I went to, but there was a lot of friends of ours that were really close to this guy. And I went, and there was like 450 people at his funeral. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh.
Makes you wonder, how many friends do I have? How many friends would come to my funeral?
4 people show up to my funeral. And half of those I'm related to. So I love what John Maxwell says. 15 minutes after I'm gone, the only question on people's minds will be, where's the potato salad?
That's true.
And that helps kind of have some levity about life. I'm going to be 50 this year, and this person that passed away was in there. I think he was 68 or 69. So I'm looking at that like that's 20 years, and I can clearly remember what I was doing 20 years ago, which would have been, what's it now, 2024? This would have been 2004. 2004, I was at Perfigo. The summer of 2004, which is kind of what we're in right now, I was literally building the foundation of what would become our first multi-million-dollar fortune. And it was before I'd ever worked for a really successful company or for a large company. And I did both. I worked for a very successful startup company at Perfigo, and I worked for a very large and very successful at the time that I went to work for Cisco in late 2004, Cisco had just given up the reins, I think, as being the largest company in the world at $800 billion market cap, and was about to become the first $1 trillion company within 90 days of the bubble bursting in 2001. So that was a very exciting time, but it wasn't that long ago. And I think about what have we done in the last 20 years.
Which is a really good segue to get started talking about part 2. I like how your lifeline begins before Jessica and after Jessica.
Before and after Jessica.
But before that, I want to hear from you, Teddy. How was your week this week?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was really fun to see Jeffrey before he leaves.
Yeah, he had a good time, and you got a new computer.
Yeah.
We got to go to the beach a couple times, which was really nice. And we have this place, if anybody is in Northern California.
Are you talking about the best Taco Bell ever?
The best Taco Bell ever in Pacifica.
On the beach.
It's on the beach. You can literally get your taco, and it's a Taco Bell cantina, which means they have adult beverages in the slushy machine.
And you get a view of the ocean.
And you get to you can pull right up onto the stand and eat Taco Bell. It's the
best Taco Bell ever.
5-star Taco Bell you've ever been to. And then what we do as a family is we drive up 280, which is where Pacifica is, and we go to Devil's Slide. And Devil's Slide is a really interesting hike. It's part of what used to be Highway 1, where it was just too many times falling off the cliff, I guess. They thought, hey, let's make this into something pedestrians will walk on.
Let's make it into a park so that at least we don't kill the people in the cars.
Exactly. Maybe cars are too heavy, but people are not. So needless to say, they closed off this section of Highway 1, and they turned it into a biking and hiking trail, and the kids take their skateboards and their bikes and they go down it, and it's just a really fun place, right, Teddy?
Yeah.
And then we go get our Taco Bell and
Then we went to Half Moon Bay.
And then we went to Half Moon Bay on our way back.
And Santa Cruz, we did Santa Cruz that
and
week
we did
too.
Santa Cruz. We went to Capitola.
Yeah. So we do other things besides work here,
What
Mabel.
was it? It was the first Pizza My Heart is in Capitola. Is that what you found out?
I believe that is correct.
The first
it's
Pizza
the
My
one
Heart
in
location.
downtown Capitola.
And Pizza My Heart. Now we can start a whole new debate, but I'll go around the room here. Okay, Jeff.
Yes.
Pan or New York style? Chicago or New York?
New York.
Teddy, Chicago or New York? Thick crust or thin crust?
Thick all the
Thick
way.
crust.
Pan.
Just-
Andrew? Pan or Chicago or New York?
No.
Thick when I was younger, but I think now that I'm getting older and I'm watching my health, I think thin is probably a little bit better.
Okay.
Real ones on 11.
I haven't met a pizza that I don't like.
Yeah.
And the older that I get, the more I can appreciate the ability to roll a New York slice, and then you get that whole big, you don't just eat it thin and flat. I think the whole point is to taco it.
Yeah.
But I still think my favorite, if I was if calories were not a factor, definitely Chicago style with the thick crust and the
Chicago style is great in that it has
the cornmeal
a lot
on the
of.
bottom.
It's got the cornmeal on the bottom, and then it's got a lot of sauce. It's usually
and they usually put the meat in the
Sticking
sauce,
cheese
in the cheese,
in
yeah.
I noticed something a while ago when I had a dream. It was a dream, and I had a cinnamon bun in the dream, and I noticed in dreams your taste buds work.
Do they work?
They work.
Did you taste it?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm old now and I don't dream anymore.
I've had a couple of wild dreams in the last couple of days. Just getting that engine going, that time machine.
Well, so Teddy, you're here because in part 1 you had asked Dad to relay his story of going from living at home and kind of his rough upbringing to becoming dad that we know and becoming able to live on his own and provide for his family. That's okay. We're going to be super entertaining. We're going to have so much fun.
We are entertaining.
We are super entertaining.
This is fun. If nothing else, we're doing it for our own satisfaction.
Right.
So this is not just about being crazy for other people. This is about doing what you think is fun.
Is there anything about after in Dad's progression of Dad's journey? Is there any questions or anything that you would have for Dad about being a grown up and being married and being on his own, providing for you kiddos?
I don't think so.
So this is the Jeff Heilman. See, the good thing about the Jeff Heilman story after Jessica is I know a little bit about it.
You know quite a bit.
I only have hearsay before Jessica, but after Jessica, when we first met, you were in between jobs. And I like to say in between jobs. You weren't unemployable. You were just in between jobs.
I met you March 13th, and I think my last day of work was the 28th of February. So I'd been out of work for a couple weeks.
Yeah. You had been leasing apartments, I believe, was the job that you had done.
I left Zip
right
2 was the
before.
last job I had before.
Zip 2 was
yeah.
So I got Elon Musk's chewed bits.
You got the chewed bits from the Musk brothers. Yeah.
Okay, that explains so much.
No.
And then we've told the people on the podcast, you said that you didn't have any money, but we could still go out, and I really appreciated you being honest.
That was wild because I remember there was the Henley Club at the Hotel Dianza, which I think I had been to the night before.
Well, you said you knew the guy.
I did know a guy, and we ended up showing up, and we got our drinks comped. I don't even remember how that happened.
Erwin or Edwin or...
I think it was an Edwin.
That.
But
he was nice.
He was super cool. Comped my drinks. I don't even know if I had enough money to leave a tip. I probably left it. You would have made sure I left a tip. You would have absolutely made sure that I left it. You would have ensured that. But I do remember that our drinks got comped. We listened to live music at the Headley Club.
We just walked around
and you
downtown.
were 19, which is, it's a jazz club where it serves alcohol. And the dude didn't card me. He didn't charge me.
Pretty old. I don't know.
You looked pretty good. I'm sure that Didn't hurt.
But
being able to get stuff done, like even though I didn't have a ton of resources.
And that was what I think that I appreciated the most, was that you were, able to visualize. You didn't let limitations keep you from
I'd
doing
had
what
some
you
good
wanted
training recently.
Yes.
Between the summer of 1994 when I started reading books and summer of 95 when I became a Christian, and then met you in spring of 96. So it had been a couple of years of like reading the right types of things. Man, if you all, I'm going to put a link in the description on this one to a talk that I listened to over the last couple days, again, for the gazillionth time. It is called, it's a radio program done in the 1950s by the great Earl Nightingale, who, by the way, was one of only 2 people to survive as an ensign on the USS Arizona. He was able to abandon ship in a different part of the ship than the part that took the first bombs. And
This is at Pearl Harbor.
This is at Pearl Harbor in 1942. He's 18 years old, been in the Navy 3 weeks, and he's on the USS Arizona, and it gets just absolutely obliterated. And it leaked a bunch of fuel, which then ignited and burned to death all the sailors that couldn't swim to shore. So, and he was one of 2 guys that actually survived that bombing out of like 1,800. I don't know how many it is. It's over 1,500 people, I think, for the USS Arizona. But he comes out and kind of recognizes that he has this purpose in life and that he's going to use this incredible, deep, deep voice, so rich and beautiful, and he becomes a radio man. He gives talks over radio, which was the internet of the 1950s before there was television, but people didn't have television, and there certainly wasn't much on. So the medium of the day was radio, and he does a talk, which was recorded. It's absolutely spectacular, and it's called The Strangest Secret. And I won't tell you what it is. I'll leave that to the imagination. But I've been listening to that talk over the last couple of days again, and he gives us a challenge in that, which I'm working toward. And it relates to the time machine conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, where I feel like I was able to renew my strength in understanding what happened in 2004. How did we make all that money?
But it's so important to recognize the personal growth and the importance of personal growth, and to be able to, and what I'm starting with is like to be able to see Teddy. Daddy worked when when we first got married. He had found a job, but that didn't last. That was like 1 week. That was 1 week. But
I was there for a couple months.
A couple months?
Yeah, 3 months.
It was 3, and then it was a week after we got married.
They fired me the day before I hit my 90-day mark so that I couldn't file unemployment.
But he ended up having to take a job at like a retail, like almost, I would say almost like a I don't want to put any names.
Like a golf store. It was a golf store.
It was a golf store.
Roger Dunn
He had
Golf
to take a
on
job.
Boone's
Well, I
Ferry.
was thinking more of Fred Meyer when you were working at Fred Meyer.
Never worked at Fred Meyer.
You didn't work at Fred Meyer with Jason? I thought you worked in.
No,
with
we worked
Jason.
at G.I. Joe's.
Oh, G.I. Joe's. That's it.
What did you
Auto parts
do
store.
when you were working for Elon Musk?
Made phone calls, went on appointments, knocked doors, talked to guys that ran pizza restaurants. I talked to coffee shops, talked to cell phone. There were cell phone dealers. There were lots and lots and lots of cell phone dealers at the time. So I would talk to cell phone dealers, and I was trying to get the pitch down. I was trying to understand, like, what are we doing here?
Elon had basically built like a Yelp with Google Maps kind of a concept.
He was trying to build it.
He was trying to build
he
that.
He needed advertisers to pay a monthly fee to be listed on this subscription
so Daddy
service.
would go to the businesses and be like, you need to be on this website.
Forget about these things called the yellow pages.
Yeah.
Those don't work.
I still can't believe you were his first employee. That's so crazy. He's literally the richest person in the world, and you were the one who started it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
he's very smart, and he works extremely hard, and has an ability to push through fear that I think we could all learn from. I think if you were to ask yourself the question, what would happen if you knew you couldn't fail in life, you would end up like Elon Musk, because he's
got that same thing that Alex Honnold, the rock climber,
yeah,
that like can't sense fear. It
Like,
doesn't.
well, it's almost like
like-
the stakes need to be life threatening in order to move
Yeah.
the needle on whether or not you're willing to get out of bed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
interesting to
It's
see.
very interesting. But personal growth speaking, we were in Amway. Hey, all you guys are in Amway. Hey,
Amway
family,
people.
Amway family.
We love Amway.
We had subscribed to a routine, and that routine was at least one seminar and rally per month in person. So we had to do
Yep.
one function, which was not just propaganda for Amway, but it was for personal growth.
Yeah, it's personal growth.
Propaganda for personal growth.
I mean, it was about building the Amway business, but it was still personal development. And there were
And we read it was like a book. They encouraged a book a month, but it was more like, I remember one of them talking about just highlight 10 things before you go
That's
to bed.
right.
Like, you needed to read. We needed to read every day. We needed to make it a practice to go and speak to new people every day if we could.
Yep.
You tried to get business cards back then.
That's right.
A new one a day. And we were
Thousands.
on a successful
Thousands and thousands
routine
of
to
people.
go to these functions once a month and then a major function once every 3 months.
That's right.
So that is such an
Yeah, it was called CORE. That was our acronym for the personal growth plan for Amway, and you tried to do 30 days in a row if you could be
And you had your
core for
checklist,
30
just
days.
like
And
you
I
have
did.
your
I had my
checklist now.
checklist, and it was actually, I got that from Dave Eggers.
yeah.
And he was the first guy to say, like, to be able to build the habit of no misses.
Yeah.
Right, over a 30-day period, the goal was to see if you could do each of these things and not miss a day. And it was a self-discipline of doing these little things. And they were listen to one half of a cassette tape of a positive mental attitude cassette tape, read
Yeah.
for 15 minutes in a positive mental attitude book, or underline 10 things.
Core is a really cool name. I can't believe there wasn't someone already named, a company
know what it
already
stands
named
for?
Core. No, I don't, but it is a really cool name.
It stands for change or remain enslaved.
Employed.
Yeah.
Change or remain
I
employed.
can't believe somebody didn't already have that name. That's a
Yeah.
really cool name.
Yeah, it is.
And so we would listen to 30 minutes of a positive tape, read 15 minutes in a positive book, or underline 10 things, attend all major and monthly and quarterly functions, which were usually, a minor function would be a Friday night and a Saturday, and a major function would be Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday
Be
night.
teachable.
Show the plan, which is just be actively involved in contacting, inviting, and expanding your business through sales and marketing plan. Personal use the products. Retail, which is sell a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't just mean it was a good idea. It was also what the FTC dictated was necessary in order to separate Amway from an illegal Ponzi pyramid scheme
Right.
that has to do with investments, where all the investment money is coming up and none of the value is going down. So the FTC in 1969, I think, went through the Amway sales and marketing plan and basically found that it was a completely legitimate business, not to be confused with Bernie Madoff or anybody else. And as a result of that, they said there are certain things you have to do in order to receive a bonus check. And one of those is to service 10 customers, I think a quarter. So personal use the product, sell products at retail to customers that are not currently involved in the Amway business, counsel with your active, growing upline, including but not limited to submitting a counseling sheet
Yeah.
to your upline mentor. And you didn't have to do that, but this is
If you wanted
if you
to
wanted
be core.
if you wanted to be as good as you could be, the goal was to be core. And then number 8 was to be accountable. And that means,
and
be
regardless of
respectful of
whether
people's spouses and respectful with people's money and product and businesses.
and our business grew, and we saw we were able to sponsor some people over the course of 13
Yeah,
years.
we put a couple hundred people
but I
in the
think
business over
the
25 years.
primary MBA program, if you will, that we attended was this discipline to growth, this discipline to personal growth,
Totally.
this being able to go from working at GI Joe's and door knocking.
Yeah. I mean,
and-
I made literally, when we got married, I was making like $4 an hour.
Yeah,
Like $4 an
I
hour.
know, Teddy.
Minimum
Wow.
wage. I don't even know. What is minimum wage? Is like 16?
Andrew, do you know?
Closer to 20 in our little district.
$20.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Ouch.
I mean, inflation has changed the cost
Wow.
of things by quite a bit. Like, I do remember that, like, we could get a loaf of bread for $2 and now a loaf of bread's
Yeah.
$6. So, I mean, it definitely has gone up with inflation, but
At least you weren't sifting gold and getting like $1 a month.
No,
Yeah,
that's true.
true.
I'm
It
not
could be
sifting
worse.
gold. I don't have to work in a sweatshop somewhere making pennies a day, which a lot of people do. Thank God we live in America, and the opportunity that we have because of capital really puts the burden on Americans, in my opinion, to just use the capital systems and produce as much as we possibly can, be grateful for what we have, and try to share with others less fortunate. I mean, we will never understand what it's like to be in a situation that doesn't have access to capital markets.
Yeah.
And 90% of the world.
So, Teddy, you're
Doesn't.
11 now, and we've lived in this house 9 years. Are we going on our ninth
We're
year?
in our 9th year now.
We're in our 9th year.
Longest I've
Do you
ever lived anywhere,
remember
actually.
the other house at all, or do you only remember this house?
But I have vague memories of like seeing this house really, really empty and like with nothing in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting because the older kids, like Jeffrey, have. I don't know when they're. I think that they remember. Jeffrey remembers the townhouse in
Does he?
Cupertino.
He remembers the townhouse of Cupertino.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they had 2 little buddies.
Yeah. Andrew, what's the earliest house you remember? Do you remember?
I remember 915. I mean, we moved to 915
Yeah,
You
he
were
was
like
born
2,
in.
not even 2.
when I was
Year and a half.
We
You would have been
brought-
a year and a half. Not even a year and a half, because you were born August of 2006, and we moved to 915 on January 1st of 2008.
Oh, we brought him home to Ava's house in Cupertino. So he would have been with us for the whole year in Gilroy. I remember because there was a tick from the outdoors and it was climbing on his head. And oh my God, I
ticks
just
on babies.
like
We gotta-
tick
that's
on
no
the
good.
baby
No
head.
bueno.
Oh my God, burn the
No
house
bueno.
down. I'm
That's
moving out of
exclamation-
the country.
Exclamation mark.
I'm never going to live
exclamation
in the
mark on both sides
countryside
of that
ever
sentence.
again. That was
No bueno.
so just blah. But
Yeah.
yeah, so anyways, that was Andrew. So but he wouldn't have been very old when we moved to 915. He would have been 2, like you said.
No, he would have
probably.
been 15 months.
Yeah.
Because if you were born August of 2006, we moved into 915, into Sunflower on, I want to say February 1st of 2007, and we were there a year. So we went Feb 1st 07 to Feb 1st 08 at Sunflower, and then we had a month gap at 915 so we could move.
I think that we should also bring up the fact and that we have always, and I know Stephen Siebold confirms it in his book about the one that he wrote about successful people.
Oh, I love that one. By the way,
It
if you
was
haven't
like-
read,
what
I'm
was
going to put a
it,
link in the
21?
description for that one too. The 177
yeah.
Habits of Mental Toughness
Of successful.
by Steve Siebold.
So he talks about.
Fantastic
He
book.
actually talks about, doing what you can, of course, financially in your means, to find the wealthiest neighborhood that you can find and live in the cheapest place in the wealthiest neighborhood
Yeah.
that you can
Yep.
find. And because just that power
That's right.
of being in association with
Atherton, here
or
we come.
neighbors too, it changes even from you might not think about it. And I'm encouraging anybody who's looking to buy a house or to rent or moving, you don't even think about the fact that what an impact going to your local grocery store just for milk and having that being a nice grocery store to get your milk, like that, the impact that puts on your psyche, it puts on your self-esteem, it puts on your desire to grow and to continue to grow. And it's not all about money. It's more about thinking about
It's about standards.
Standards,
That's
and
the whole
it's about-
thing about
it's
being
about-
world class. Is world class doesn't mean you have to make a certain dollar amount. You have always had a world class standard. Whether we were living in the original apartment on South Shore in Lake Oswego, and you bought a couch at Goodwill for $25, and you put a beautiful slipcover. I didn't even know what a slipcover was. I never heard of a slipcover. The only type of covering I knew for couches were the plastic coverings that people put on their nasty couches to protect them from I don't even know what. Because
Oh man, in the summer when you stuck to those suckers.
Yeah, that was the only thing. Jessica comes up with this thing like a slip cover. I'd never seen a slip cover before. And I go away to work one day, and you come back, and you had made this 400 square foot apartment on South Shore absolutely beautiful. There were flowers, there was lighting, there was carpet. It was beautiful.
Aesthetics. My mom and I were talking about it just last week about heal your home, heal your health. A lot of people say heal your health and your home will fix itself.
Well, that was the whole thing about moving to this house that I'd never experienced before, was the fact that the Broadway house allows us to rest when we're not out in the world. And the 915 house, as much as I fought it and as hard as it was to pay the bills on this larger place for 6 or 7 years, I mean, I really had no business moving into this house when we did. But we figured a way out. We made the sacrifices necessary. And the truth is, the 915 house was never restful. I never felt like I could just relax and sleep and be okay, because the house was on the street. My car was broken into constantly. I had tens of thousands of dollars of stuff.
It was a really nice neighborhood. Part of the reason why people would target
I had really nice cars.
Is because
I had Benzes and Mercedes and Yukon XL trucks.
But if you didn't have a gate, like a lot of the houses in that neighborhood have little gates that you drive back through, and if your house is basically just a target for people to walk by, but just recognizing that if you can find a location, and if you can look on the map and put a pin in the most desirable neighborhood, and then maybe open yourself up to the belief that you can get away with a studio apartment or a 1-bedroom or less than what you think you have to have, but just to be in the environment and to be surrounded by. Just think about what your neighbors think like. Like, think about how the people that you do go to the grocery store and then you come in. I mean, how awesome is it? Madeline and I were at Trader Joe's today. And you know how the Trader Joe's employees are like trained to be like, how's your weekend? And how are you doing? Like that level of standard and of just of like positivity and customer service that you get when you are in a neighborhood like that is impactful. You leave the store feeling like you can go home and make food and have it be healthy and nutritious. You want to do better. You want to succeed. It is so, and the only reason why I can speak to this from experience is I grew up with, I grew up in really bad neighborhoods. I grew up with people and family members in the trailer park, and the liquor store is your grocery. The liquor store is where you go to get milk, and you have to walk past the bars on the windows and the guy smoking behind and don't even look up from their tabloids, and you're getting your milk and you're walking out and you just feel
dirty.
You feel gross. You feel dirty. You're walking past the rat traps, and you're thinking like, this is not, this is no longer acceptable. And especially when you've got this tension of, I'm in this environment and I'm reading all these positive books, these PMA, positive mental attitude books, and something's gotta change. I mean, we used to, early on in our marriage, we would go through the neighborhoods with the Andrew will testify to this, all the kids, $20 million houses, $15 million houses.
You're constantly looking at $20 million houses.
We'd look like we were in the gardener's cars, because our cars would like be sputtering out.
Are you kidding? We were getting jump starts from the gardeners.
But
gardeners had cars that would run.
I remember like that internal like literally physically crying, looking out going, could it ever be? Will we ever get to this point? Will we ever be able to buy a house? Will we ever be able to?
And the truth is, there were most of the time I had no idea how we would ever.
Yeah.
But there's something that is happening to this family and to me in the last just like couple of years, which is that we just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and we keep grooving that thought habit and pattern of winning and success and beauty and hanging out with the right people and going. And when I say the right people, I don't mean networking and positioning. I mean there's friends of ours I have yet to do a business deal with our best buddies ever, but we go out to dinner with them and drinks with them and spend time with them all the time because they're winners. We don't have to babysit these guys. We can take our armor off when we're around them because we don't have drama in that relationship, even though I'm not jockeying for position. We're not trying to do a deal.
If you stop dreaming, you stop believing. And I think that the only times that I've ever seen the frustration between you and I get to the point to where it becomes like the weight is so heavy that we start believing that it won't happen is when we've stopped dreaming, when we've stopped going and looking at houses and cars and dreaming about places that we could travel on vacation.
If we're not putting the time and effort into that daily meditation of, my friend John calls it, architecting and re-architecting our lives. That is the work. If you want to know, what does it take? Now, granted, are we billionaires? No. Are we the Zucker people? No. We're not Zucker people. We're just
like everybody
regular,
else
hardworking American
who listens to
family
podcasts and shares
who are listening to people that are going somewhere, trying to go somewhere ourselves, and then documenting that journey through podcasts, newsletters, posts. I don't know. I would love to hear from Teddy as far as, Teddy, if you were to describe in the best words that you can, not as a 50-year-old or a 20-year-old, but as an 11-year-old, what would you say that, just your best guess, our family's success philosophy, our success talk, what does that mean to you?
Success talk? What
Just like if you were to think of like, what's a saying that you've heard us say that's like,
do we have a motto or something that we live by?
How does our family feel about being successful?
High fives in the hallway.
High fives in the hallway.
High fives in the hallway. Okay,
right.
Let's talk about that for a minute. I don't know. We don't share about that on every episode. But what does high fives in the hallway mean to you?
We've got a good relationship with everybody in the family has a good relationship.
That's right.
Because we will not walk past each other without acknowledging or giving a high five or saying, "What's up?" Or looking at when Joe, do you remember what Joe and we would always do? Eye contact. We got to make eye contact before we say goodbye.
I remember when we first got Vincent, I remember I said, right now, we're saying whenever we see Vincent, we're saying, "Oh, hi, Vinny, oh, I love you." But someday we're going to be saying, "Hey, Vin."
Hey, Vin.
And that's what I say now.
That's right.
I say, "Hey, Vin."
Hey, Vin. We just it progresses as the relationship continues and it progresses and develops.
To me, what high fives in the hallway represents is a standard for the culture that we want to create, which is that when you have two people living in a house, you're going to pass each other X number of times. When you have 4 people living in a house, you pass each other a lot, and everybody's maybe got their own bedroom. When you have 9 people living in a house, and it's a small house, the collisions per square foot of human contact is literally dozens and dozens and dozens of instances every single day, especially when you've got 9 people living in a tiny house, bouncing all over like pinballs, and we don't leave because I work from home, Jessica stays at home, and the kids are schooled at home. So it's literally hundreds of interactions. And so I just started talking about high fives in the hallway as a standard for the type of culture that we wanted to build. And if you look at what does it really take to be successful, we will miss many of the goals that we set in our lives. That is normal to miss goals. If you hit every goal, you're not aiming high enough, but you will rarely fall below the standard that you say, like your standard is your behavior. Whatever you do, if you pay your bills on time, file your taxes on time, keep your car clean, put gas in it and never run out of gas, never get a DUI, like those are standards that we set in our lives. And so people talk about you got to get out of your comfort zone. I disagree. I don't think you need to get out of your comfort zone. I think you need to move your comfort zone in an area where your standard, your minimum kind of goes up to where it's like, I'm not going to miss brushing my teeth. I'm not going to miss going to the gym. One of the things with my checklist, getting dialed in is all of a sudden I have a lot more time. I'm going to bed earlier. I'm sleeping better. I'm not drinking as much. I'm hydrating better. And I'm ended up getting to the gym. I haven't missed a scheduled time at the gym in weeks now, which is very strange.
I would say that it's important to level up your comfort zone.
Level up your comfort
I think
zone,
the goal should
and
be
pretty
to get
soon your
comfortable.
standards will be,
Yeah.
I don't miss going to the gym because I don't want to drop that standard.
Yeah, we've talked about how like if you can be comfortable with nothing in the bank, and you can be comfortable with 200 grand in the bank.
I'm much more comfortable with 200 grand.
And so when you're comfortable and you level up your comfort zone, then that will just say, okay, it's important to become comfortable. Like we need to be able to be in a frame
you
of mind.
You have to have a comfort zone.
Where we
comfort
can
zone
be,
is essential for survival.
Because we need peace. We need to be able to breathe.
100%.
You need to be able to rest, and you need to be able to recover.
I mean, why do
and you
homeless
need to
people
be
have
able to
tents?
breathe.
Let's just use that as an example. Homeless people have tents because everybody needs protection from the elements. It's a standard. You can't just sit there and get beat on and get beat on and get beat on by cold and by wind and by air and by the elements and temperature changes and stuff. You can't just keep getting beaten on. You have certain standards. Otherwise, if homeless people had no standards, why would they need a tent? And the truth is, they do have standards. Everybody has standards. Whatever those standards are will end up dictating your environment over time. It doesn't mean, I was homeless for a short period of time, but I didn't stay homeless because my standard said that's not acceptable to me. And so I bounced up off the bottom rung of the ladder that I was living on. And then thank God that Jessica's been in my life because she helped raise my standard above. The bottom doesn't have to be homelessness. The bottom could be, down to your last 50 grand living in a $3 million house in the richest neighborhood in your town.
Well, it's the same if you're attempting to lose weight. If your standard is
That's exactly
chicken
right.
strips and fries, then that's where your comfort zone is. Your standard is where your comfort zone is.
Let me give you another example of standards. There was a guy, Tony Robbins tells the story of a guy who was worth $12 billion. And the stock market took a dump, and he lost like $3.5 billion. And he stepped in front of a train because his standard was he was the $10 billion guy.
Well, it was that he was the richest person, and then he missed his
and he missed his mark.
Fell out of being known as the richest person.
He got out of his comfort zone, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not an advocate for getting out of your comfort zone. In fact, I think that people that say you need to get out of your comfort zone, it's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, because to get out of your comfort zone means to forego the actual safety and security that you require at the foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's like, I'm going to go now. Reaching for something that might be a stretch for you, to me, is not necessarily getting out of your comfort zone. I think that you're comfortable where you are, and your comfort zone, because of growth, your comfort zone is moving, and you're trying to stay comfortable by being in a juxtaposition to growth because of what you're putting inside yourself, because your standards are going up.
And to come in line with that, like we had to believe that we could pay $420 a month for rent when we first got married.
Yeah,
and get comfortable being able to pay $420. And then we had to level up that comfort, and we had to believe that we could be comfortable with paying $600 a month and be able to pay $600 a month. And then we believe we're leveling up our comfort each time. We're making sure that we are
now we're looking at houses. I mean, I was looking at houses kind of thinking, I could see getting to $16,000 to $18,000 a month for rent.
And before y'all give notice because of this conversation, we also advocate stay where you're at 1 year longer.
Yeah, stay there.
One
to where
year
you got.
Past comfort. Like when it starts to become uncomfortable,
if your job
put in
got
12 more months.
If your job got hit by a bus,
go.
Not if you got hit by a bus. We don't believe in buses. But if your job got hit by a bus and you had to go without income, could you go without income for 2 years? If you can go without income for 2 years and still afford wherever it is that you're living or want to move to, you should be fine, because you're not going to be, your standard is you're not going to be without income for that long.
Well, thank you, Teddy. I want to make sure that you've been sitting in this hard chair for a while now.
Teddy's done really good.
And you did
Teddy.
really good. I hope that you got
Thank
to
you for being a guest.
Do you have any more questions or any more?
I was gonna say, when we were talking about Trader Joe's, if you didn't know this, that a lot of Trader Joe's have a thing where they would hide a stuffed animal in the store and you have to find it. And if you find it, you can go tell the cashiers and you'll get a lollipop.
Oh, that's cute.
There was like was it a tiger or
Pelican.
pelican? There's a pelican or something that the last one we went to.
Yeah. For the one that we always go to, it's a tiger.
Yeah.
That's fun. Nessie always has to, as soon as we get into Trader Joe's, she's got to start looking for the hidden animal.
Do they ever find it?
Oh yeah, they find it every time.
Oh.
Yeah, and you get a lollipop, like one of those
cute.
circular.
And when
lollipops.
we first
great
found
idea.
out about it, it was an old man who told us about it in the store.
Yeah.
And it was pretty nice.
Madeline and I were talking about today. What if the Dutch Bros guy, the Chick-fil-A guy, and the Trader Joe's guy all got together? What a fun and positive conversation that they would have. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to part 2, the After Jessica. It sounds like After Jessica came with a lot of growth, and yet I just hope that we grow until the end. I hope that we grow until we die.
Give you the rundown of the years. So if we're
I hope we die, we take our last breath reading a book.
I hope we do too. If I go by 2 years, 96 we got married, 98 we started the painting business, 2000 we moved to Texas. 2002, we moved to San Diego. 2004, we moved to San Jose, started at Tagile. 2005, we got acquired by Cisco, and we moved to Sunflower Circle over in Gilroy. And then 2008, by the way, 2000, let's see, we missed. Jeffrey was born in 97. Joe's born in 2000. 2002 was Maddo. 2006 was Andrew. 2008 was Ashu, just had a birthday. We also moved to California Avenue in 2008. 2010, co-founded Tagile with Rohit and started getting that up and going. That would go on to become worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and we just missed an exit on that one. And then 2012, Teddy was born right after I joined Intel, selling API management. And then 2014, I was playing a lot of golf, did a lot of tournaments in 2013, 14, 15 because we had some money coming in. 2015, we moved here, 915 Broadway. 2016, went to IBM. And 2018, started my consulting business. 2020, started at Oracle. 2022, we got the Silicon Valley Bank deal done on January 3rd of 2022. And then 2024, Nessie was born in 2017, by the way. 2024, working with the guys in tax, and we've got a year of podcasts under our belt, about to launch the newsletter and working on digital.
I'm working on my
and
Build
social
Me Uppies.
media. Your Build Me Uppies. Tell us a little bit about the Build Me Uppies.
Well, the Build Me Uppies are a booklet designed with you in mind. And so they're going to be short, little, positive, encouraging books on topics like peace,
Marriage,
happiness,
happiness,
I didn't know about this.
unity.
finance.
And they are designed in a way that they're basically bite-sized booklets that you can be built up with. And I'm putting them together and
Build
looking
Me
at
Uppies.
it.
We'll have to make those
Build Me
available on the
Uppies.
website.
Yep.
Thanks for being with us, everybody.
We hope that we
Tune
built
in
you up today.
next time.
And we will see you on our next episode. God bless, guys. Have an awesome rest of your week.
See ya.
Bye.